Vice Chair the Commission, the Relations
Where's the way? Was it? Governor Chief of Order, my name is Sifuna, Senator. Friends. Good morning, my name is Mohammed. Member of the committee.
Good morning, Governor Chim. My name is Karumba Adamo, Senator of the Great Council of Kiambu and Nairobi State.
Good morning, Governor and the team. Karibuni sana. My name is Sylvia Nasambu, the lead clerk of the committee.
Good morning, Your Excellency. My name is Desmond Resulu, clerk of the department.
Good morning, Honorable Speaker of the committee.
Morning, my name is AJAABU.
Thank you, Chair. I'm standing for immediate relations officer.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I think Excellency, welcome. And give us a quick response because you got to lose us.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Sakaja.
Good morning, I'm to Council.
Good morning. My name is David Njaroge, Chief of Staff, Nairobi County. Good morning, Chairman and members. My name is Charles Gerich, the CECF for Finance.
Good morning, Mr. Mahim, County Chief of Staff, Charge of Office of the Government.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think I will Your Excellency once again, Karibu. And these are all the apples. These are the first time the German countries. Yes. We know I got to share one right. We were there. We know the only committee. The other ones that in the room is the first academy from the county and the national government. I want us to this the country on the second so that we know what is going on. And it's been so personal, the people who talk the more against that takes.
Thank you very much, Chair and members, for this opportunity to shed light.
Okay.
Very thank you for this opportunity and that this committee of the coalition has given us to discuss the cooperation agreement between Nairobi County Government and the national government. Chair, this cooperation agreement is long overdue. It's something I've spoken about in this committee. I raised it when we last met along Mombasa Road. I think it was AJAABU or Hilton, one of the hotels. And I raised it when I was the Senator of Nairobi about additional support to Nairobi. Nairobi County is not just any other county, it is a capital city. When we were having the debate on the formula, we felt very strongly that the additional required support to the city cannot come through the same formula that gives all counties resources. Not just because of the population of the city, and the variables that you have that, change population and land mass to the 696 kilometers. There was a feeling that there needs to be some additional support, actually quite significant additional support for the capital city. Now, if you look at the Urban Areas and Cities Act, Section 6, it couches this agreement or an agreement in mandatory terms. It says there shall be an agreement. Chair, it doesn't say they made an agreement, or there could be an agreement. It says there shall be an agreement on management of the capital city. So in fact, Chair, I hold that before today, you should have actually called me to ask me why is there no agreement that the law has asked for in mandatory terms between Nairobi as the capital and the national government. And if you look at that provision, it's not in the top house. The city is the seat of the national government. So it is it hosts offices of diplomatic missions. Very many in Nairobi. We have the UN. We have UNICEF moving. We have around 150, foreign missions headquartered here. It talks about efficient transport network to rural areas, towns, and other local, regional, international cities, commerce and industry. It also provides the capital city to decentralize its functions and the provisions, which is what we're doing with the boroughs, which is really our version of municipalities. Boroughs, the borough structure in the capital. Section 6, clause 5 is the one that says, subject to subsection 2, which is the capital shall be governed and managed in the same manner as a county government. It says, subject to that, the two levels of government shall enter into an agreement regarding the performance of functions and delivery of services by the capital city. So, Chair, given the kind of resources that come to the city, the Senate graciously, through the Division of Revenue, provides 20 billion. The county government owns revenue, which we've really been pushing. It's been going up. The last financial year was 13.8 billion. It is hardly adequate for a capital city. In fact, we're scratching the surface. If you had 20 and 13, 33.8 billion for a city of 7 million people with the requirements. And remember, that census is done at night when Kinakarungo have gone back to the bedroom. So they're counted there. But the services they take, like the water is drinking, is during the day here. So we also lose quite a chunk, based on what time the census is done. Comparatively, Chair, I'll give you maybe one or two examples. If you look at the budget of Paris is 1.4 trillion shillings, equivalent, with a population of 2 million people. We're at 7, at 33, which sometimes we don't even achieve because of the vagaries of collection of this revenue. So the first thing that I want to state very clearly is that having the agreement is mandatory. It's 14 years late because the law was passed in 2012, Urban Areas and Cities Act. Number 2, this agreement is not a transfer of functions. It is not. Transfer of functions happens under Article 187 of the Constitution, where a function, and there must be a deed of transfer. And when you do the deed of transfer, one level of government handles functions ordinarily supposed to be handled by another level of government. We said we will not transfer functions. If anything, the national government transferred some to us through our school feeding program, which we run, and which is very successful. It is actually ordinarily would have been run by the national government. Number 2, a transfer of function creates an institution like the NMS that then is used to run those functions, ideally, or the precedents that we have in our country. There is no institution created under this agreement. The county shall do what the county does. The national government shall do what the national government does. But the national government can now, through its appropriation at the National Assembly, create a vote line and resources for the capital city, which are additional. And I'll give you an example because we've been trying to find ways. Nairobi has a shortage of schools, big shortage of schools. A city of 7 million people having 210 schools. I'm sure you can tell me the number of schools in a constituency in in Eldoret. In fact, the president is a former member of Eldoret North. He said he had 150 schools when he was MP. And so what we sought to do was to find an injection to build more classrooms, primary and ECD. That was done because of a lack of a framework. It had to be done through CDF. That the president then gave additional 1 billion to Nairobi MPs through CDF to add classrooms. It is not neat, because even that was a big fight in the National Assembly. Because other members of parliament then asked, why is it that they're getting 1 billion more, yet we're not getting that money? So it's a special arrangement. The only county which has that provision and which can leverage on it is Nairobi County. And so as the governor, I have to ask myself a question. If I am straining to provide these services efficiently, and there is a provision of the law that I can take advantage of and get an additional X billion, whatever amount it is, I must run towards that opportunity for the benefit of the people. And the same goes for many other things. One of the things, for instance, Chairman, sorry, I don't take too much time. One of the areas we're partnering is on sanitation. On sanitation, work that ordinarily, would have taken us so many years to do. We are now doing a 54-kilometer sewer line, 27 kilometers on both sides of the river, through the River Commission that we jointly set up, the national government and the county. That project alone is 50 billion shillings. How long would it have taken Nairobi to get 50 billion shillings to do that project that covers the sanitation for the next 40 years for this city? It's a 1.8 by 1.8 box culvert. That project includes 6 billion of treatment plant in Kariobangi, 6 billion shillings. That project includes another 3 billion of last mile connectivity, which supports also the affordable housing and our urban renewal. It includes stadia, linear markets. Kamkuji grounds, if you go today, is different from what. So this also should, formalize some of these arrangements. I've gotten more than 1 kilometer now per ward, 7 billion. There is no space in my budget where I've gotten 7 billion additional. But these are things that are needed. So we took a pragmatic approach because, we can also decide to be too finicky about the exact provision of the law and not end up helping people who actually require these services. And they require them very, very urgently. I keep saying urban poverty is many times worse than rural poverty. When you have no money, you'll have nowhere to stay, nothing to eat. And so there are many, many projects that we're looking at in line with this. We have a problem with lighting, for instance. Nairobi has 50,000 lights. It needs 120,000 lights. There's 3.7 billion coming through that will create provision of these lights. But just like roads, and I'd like you to understand, just like roads, today I've seen a complaint somewhere of flooded underpass here at Haile Selassie. That is a national road. In fact, it's an international road here. It's not Nairobi's road, but the blame will always go to the county. I've seen complaints of Jogo Road. It's not. The other time I had to intervene at Ojijo Road, which used to flood. In fact, cars would be submerged. An intervention meant, because the drain on Ojijo Road is 1.2 meter, the drain on Kipande is 0.6. It had to involve me looking for Kenha to sort it out. We have more than 7 wards in Nairobi without power because transformers were removed. I have to look for the PS energy. It is not my function, but it's my responsibility as a governor. And so this creates for me a beautiful platform, an implementation committee that I chair. I chair that committee. Across me, I have the PS of energy. I have the PS National Treasury. I have the PS security. On the security problem, the county is blamed, yet I have no way to intervene. I don't think any other governor has such an opportunity. And we can meet twice, thrice. It is a real committee. The other one is just sets policy. That I can actually follow up what we've committed to do on water with that PS in that committee. Drainage improvement, we've got 1 billion. So long and short, Chair, is that I feel that this is it's a beautiful opportunity for the city. Of course, there's no agreement that is perfect. We can refine it. We can look at the nitty-gritty of what needs to be added. I've heard people saying the steering committee has too many people from national government, which I hear. I think that is true. So we can be equal. Some people have said, look at the chairing, etc. That is okay. Instead of the form of the agreement, let's look at the function, what we are actually going to gain as a city, pragmatically. Then you can sort out the form of how, who convenes the meetings, how what is done. It's a great opportunity for devolution. And I'm so confident that in the next 5-6 months, people will see a big difference in this city. Huge difference. Whether it is on cleanliness, whether it is on sanitation, whether it is on roads, on lighting. And as I was saying, this lighting of those roads, when there are no lights on Juja Road, people blame the county. Yet Kura should be lighting their roads. In fact, what we've agreed is no road contract should be given going forward without the aspect of street lighting. Kenha is the only agency that currently takes care of the lights and the bills for their roads. But since the county is given that responsibility, as opposed to maybe another county, when there's no light, it becomes a national security issue. So that interplay between national and county goes without saying. Finally, every capital city worth its salt in the world has similar agreements. Washington, D.C., Australia, if you go to Berlin, if you go to London, where you have the greater metropolitan area of London, if you go to Paris, if you go to Cape Town in Victoria, it must be there. A capital cannot be ignored. So I will leave it at that, because I know there are many concerns, and I'm available to give any clarification. That is all.
Chair, Governor, thank you so much. Chairman, I think, Governor, we perused through the agreement. And the first thing that came to my mind, there was a similar collaboration with NMS. NMS has left a huge bill in this city. And this new collaboration on agreement is not mentioning about it. And of course, every time it appears in the audit that bill is still there. So, what makes the difference between the previous collaboration and the agreements?
Point of order, Chair. Because you've given the governor time to speak, please also give the Nairobi first, so that you can understand where.
Okay, yes. Okay, give us brief.
Okay, thank you, Chair and Governor. Chair, I want to go on record as one of the people who have expressed deep concern about this particular arrangement with national government and the county government of Nairobi. I want to be very clear from the onset that nobody is against development, nobody is against support from the national government to county governments in the execution of their mandates for the delivery of services for the people of Nairobi. But you will agree with me, Governor, that everything we do is subject to the law and the Constitution. We will start with Article 10 of the Constitution, which requires that any time any person makes any policy pronouncements or public policy decisions such as the ones you have taken to essentially transfer these functions to the national government, you have to apply the values in Article 10, which also include, and I'm sure you're aware, that public participation has to be taken before the fact, not after the fact, and we will come to that shortly, Honorable Chair. The agreement is expressed to be pursuant to Section 6 of the Urban Areas Act, and the governor has rightfully referenced that whereas it anticipates an agreement between the two levels of government to support Nairobi recognizing its special standing, that particular section makes it subject to subsection 2 of that Section 6, which says that the county government shall be run as a county government. And Honorable Speaker, I will send you straight to Article 176, which gives us a definition of a county government. Article 176(1) says there shall be a county government for each county consisting of a county assembly and a county executive. So that, Honorable Chair, any agreement under Section 6 of the Urban Areas Act must recognize that the only structure of management of a county is the one that is established under 176(1). So that if you introduce any management body outside those two, you are flouting subsection 2 of section 6 of the Urban Areas and Cities Act. Honorable Speaker or Chair, Article 177 further establishes the membership of the county assembly and the county executive. It does not include, outside the speaker, outside the members of the county assembly, you cannot purport to introduce any other organ. And in the membership of the county executive as well, you cannot purport to introduce members of the national executive in the management of the county and then claim that you have done it in accordance with the law. Secondly, Honorable Speaker or Chair, public participation that is anticipated under Article 10(1)(c) is something that is required prior to decisions being made. Your Excellency, you entered into agreement. You have signed an agreement here. And I would want that when the committee starts interrogating, we need to understand as the people of Nairobi how long these conversations have been going. Because it is not possible that, in my estimation, I don't think that these conversations happened within a week or two. You, as the head of the government in Nairobi, have been having these conversations with the view of entering this agreement with the national government. I think I'll be right to assume that it has taken some time. What was so difficult for you to be able to publish, for instance, a notice and say the Nairobi County government is in talks with the national government with a view of entering an agreement that looks like this, and then allow us as the people of Nairobi to conduct public participation and give our views, including the County Assembly of Nairobi. Honorable Chair, I want to confirm as a senator of Nairobi that I had no idea that these particular negotiations were going on. Outside the fact that governor is my friend, is able to reach me on phone. I had no clue until I saw that invitation that there was going to be a signing ceremony, and you put it at a very unfriendly address, which of course Sifuna is not welcome to attend. We have seen the schedule that has been published for now, the public participation. The people of Nairobi are supposed to undertake that public participation tomorrow. Actually, it starts today at Charter Hall and then Friday in the constituencies. This is an egregious violation of the right of public participation, in my view, because you have already put pen to paper, Honorable Governor. And it is, the courts in Kenya have already ruled that when the constitution requires public participation, it has to be meaningful. It cannot be a cosmetic exercise meant to rubber stamp something that has already been settled. So, Honorable Chair, I have a problem, and this committee of devolution must actually protect the people of Nairobi. If you read the text of the agreement, it actually only anticipates, Governor, amendments that might come from public participation. It says that if there are any amendments that are proposed by the people of Nairobi, and you yourself have alluded to the possibility of amendments, what you have called refining the agreement, but you and the president do not anticipate that the people of Nairobi in their righteous might can actually say, we don't want this agreement. So, whereas the agreement anticipates that you can accommodate our views and amend it, we, the people of Nairobi, can say we reject it in total. We have not seen where you accommodate that particular view. I will move on to the next one, Honorable Chair. The governor, being a former senator, is aware that in fact there exists legal mechanisms for us to be able to send specific support to specific counties whenever it is required, and noted that there is a specific need. Governor, we have passed the county government's additional allocations all this time when we've been in the Senate. You're familiar with that particular piece of legislation. It is possible, Governor, and I will give the illustration of the county aggregation packs. Nairobi County, because we do not consider it a need, when you look at the column of the county government's additional allocation, you will see Kiambu, our bedroom, receives money for KIPES, county aggregation packs. On the column for Nairobi, it is blank because of the recognition that probably our priorities lie elsewhere. When the county governments began in 2013 on Bushare, there are counties that did not have headquarters. I went to Mandera and I found that they were given money specifically to a need to say, let us have county headquarters. They have built those county headquarters. If you look at the column for Nairobi, you will see that Nairobi does not receive money for county headquarters. So there is a legal instrument, Governor. There's a legal instrument. You should have pointed out to the president that it is possible for the national government to identify the specific need, for instance, on street lighting. Our bill for street lighting almost matches some of the money that some of these counties spend on school feeding programs and the other things. It is a special need, and it flows out of that Section 6 of the Urban Areas Act. We should have told the president, we have no problem receiving money for support of Nairobi, put it in the proper legal instrument. Thirdly, Honorable Speaker, Chair, this question of, for instance, bursaries. You have had a fight with the national government and the control of budget, saying we are undertaking functions that are not supposed to be undertaken by the county governments. But under the recognition of our special needs as a people for support, especially when it goes towards education, I have been to counties like Mandera, even Nairobi has a bursaries program. Governor, if you look at the agreements that the control of budget required that counties do, there is no similar management mechanism that has been put in place. Musalia doesn't sit on our bursaries board, but we have an agreement so that you regularize it through the constitution. Thirdly and fourthly, the management committee. That is a problem that you as a committee will have to deal with. Musalia Mudavadi has sneaked himself into elective office in Nairobi because he is essentially undertaking the functions of your government. And I know he's your brother, but you don't have to share power with him. Honorable Chair, yes, there is the question of pending rates, Governor. You yourself will tell this committee the current outstanding balance. And last we had a conversation with you about how much money national government owes the people of Nairobi. I think it was upwards of something like 100 billion Kenya shillings. Why can't you tell the president that you have the capacity as a county government to be able to manage Nairobi? Let him give us our money. Let him give us our money. And then we will build our roads. I have seen this county government building roads. Unless, Governor, you are saying you cannot build roads. If the national government gave the county government of Nairobi money, you have the capacity to build those roads. You have the capacity to do those sewer lines. You have the capacity to do the drainages. You are a government. Tell them to give us our money. When we see people saying, we will give you this money, but we are not very sure you will run it, so let's send Musalia to chair the board. That is unacceptable under the Urban Areas and Cities Act. Lastly, Chair, we are concerned about the oversight framework because I sit in the County Public Accounts Committee, and we as a Senate, we are guided by the reports of the Auditor General. We are making the life of the Auditor General difficult when during an audit process, they have to go to various entities to be able to find documentation that support the expenditure of these resources. So for instance, if we want to audit these resources that have been given under this particular arrangement, you are told, oh, there are some documents you have to go and get from the treasury, the others are where, the others are this. You are making it difficult for the auditor to be able to do their job. Lastly, Governor, the NMS, you yourself promised the people of Nairobi, we will not get into a misadventure similar to that one. This one is similar to that misadventure. It left us with a lot of pending bills. You have spoken to it. I heard you during your address to the county assembly. And Governor, you came before this Senate. You came before this Senate. This Senate helped you to extract a concession from State House that Nairobi people will not be paying the pending bills under NMS. We said the comptroller of State House, who was the accounting officer under NMS, should pay those resources. Governor, my expectation is when you go to State House, please remind the president that he is the one responsible for payment of those NMS pending bills before you sign the contract. You cannot just be there smiling and laughing, and yet you know the trouble that these contractors from NMS are going through. Let them pay their pending bills, and we don't want this misadventure again. With those few remarks, Honorable Chair, I thank you, and I reserve the right to ask any supplemental questions, or if the committee will allow me.
Let's allow the governor to respond first. Chair,
Which I can get all the questions
yeah, okay.
because there might be
Chair, I thought because you gave the senator of the sitting room, you give the senator of the bedroom of Nairobi to also come through.
Ready. Thank you, Chair, for this opportunity. First, this committee has discussed the weak intergovernmental relations in Kenya. So to begin with, as the Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations, we have been working to get governments at the national and county level to understand the Kenyan form of devolved governance, which is collaborative and cooperative. And we have had 13 years of operating as if they are competing. National government is competing with county governments. And yet both levels are supposed to deliver services to the same audience, the same citizens. So in my view, I welcome the fact that we want to attempt to have healthy intergovernmental relations for the benefit of service delivery to the Mwananchi. So this is the first time that we are attempting to operationalize Section 6 of the Urban Areas and Cities Act, another act that we have not properly implemented in the country in the 13 years on this issue. It is also a good attempt at trying to implement 189(2) that requires that government at each level and the different governments at the county level cooperate in the performance of functions and exercise of powers, and may set up committees for that purpose. So we expect horizontal cooperation among counties. We expect vertical cooperation among counties for purposes of delivering services. But as Senator for Nairobi has raised a concern, even as we cooperate horizontally, vertically, we must respect the basic tenets of the Constitution. And we have read through this agreement that you have, and we have a few concerns. One, we don't see clarity in terms of what the agreement is, in terms of this is what national government will do, and this is what county government will do, and this is how the nature of collaboration will happen. The agreement is so general that it looks as if we have incorporated national government actors into the cabinet of the county government to make decisions over the county functions. So we have not seen that demarcation that indicates that Nairobi County can only manage to do 40,000 street lights. National government feels we need to up that to 70,000, and therefore national government is planning a conditional grant to county government to help it top up from the 50,000 that they are able to do to the 70,000 that we think Nairobi should have. That is not clear in this agreement. And the manner in which you set up the committees looks as if national government is actually making decisions over county functions and then pushing it down to be implemented. And even in that implementation, top-heavy PSs of national government, and we don't see the operation of the county government officers is a bit vague. So it is unclear on what that implementation means. And does it mean supervising or oversighting implementation or implementation? When you call it implementation committee, one could easily be persuaded to mean a PS, a mischievous PS might imagine that they have actually been given the job to set up lights in the city of Nairobi. So how do we ensure that we respect the functional integrity of the county government even as we enter into this agreement? So how are we using the tool of conditional grants? It is unclear in here. You haven't even used made a reference to what that means. Is it technical support they're trying to give you? Is it that Nairobi County cannot put up lights, So national government, which has the function of technical support, wants to give technical support. It is unclear on what we are, how we are going about this function. On the issue of public participation cannot be cosmetic. This is the one principle on which we've had the highest litigation on the Constitution of Kenya. And by now it has been refined that public participation cannot be cosmetic. So you can't sign and then go and find views. So we need to find out how can you go back to ensure that you take in the views that would enrich this and then decide on how to go about this. The issue of appropriation, again, very vague. Is National Assembly going to appropriate funds for county functions, or is going to appropriate conditional grants by national government to county functions? It's unclear. Is your county assembly going to appropriate a conditional grant brought from National Assembly to go towards a function that is being improved, courtesy of the agreement? And is the Auditor General going to audit the PS housing or going to audit the county assembly? It's unclear on how you're moving on these issues. I believe others want to chip in. We've discussed. There are many more others, but in my view, one, we need to do this agreement is contemplated, but the detail of this agreement is not properly situated to be able to deliver what you're hoping to deliver.
Yeah. Thank you much. I think, I do want to ask the one to speak, please, I said.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you. And I think from the outset, and everybody in this committee, I think nobody is saying that the Nairobi County should not get more funds. Actually, we need more money to Nairobi County since it is a capital city of this republic. And also, we also need it in our counties. But in this case, we are talking about Nairobi. Chair, I would want to mention that, yes, the governor has alluded to the fact that the law says he shall. What that means is that it's not a must, but when it comes to looking for the national government, you can only do that through an agreement. That's why we are saying it shall be an agreement. It cannot be a roadside declaration and all that. And you mentioned some cities like the Washington, D.C., like Canberra in Australia, but those have a different setup when it comes to their law, because Washington, D.C. is a federal district, doesn't belong to any state. It has a mayor and it has a local council. Canberra has, it's actually called the Australian Capital Territory. It has its own assembly, but it doesn't have a governor. So they are subjected, the oversight is from the national parliament. But when we come to this, to Nairobi County, we must now follow the section 6, 2, and 5 of the Urban Cities Act that says the management of this county must be in line with the county mandate. Now, that's where we come in as a Senate, and that's where we come in as people's representative. And we ask ourselves, when you're dealing with this kind of agreement, did you reflect on the CIDP, that is the County Integrated Development Plan? Are these projects part of what the County Assembly had passed within their 5-year term CIDP? I would also want to know, Chair, because this county is being run by the steering committee and of course the executive. If there is a disagreement between these two, who comes in between? I mean, if you have a disagreement, because the county assembly is not given any mandate here. The Senate has not been given. Even when it comes to the reporting is only going to the CEC or the cabinet. So we would want to understand, because Chair, even if we might think it's a simple thing, when we say that we're discussing the county, which in this case is the bride, but the national government has more people in this steering committee, 8 people against the county's 4. And you know, Chair, who is even the chair of this committee? Even in a basic setup of a dowry, the chair is always the father of the bride. I mean, we would want the governor to be the chair of this bride, which is the city. Now we are giving it to Mudavadi, who is in the office unconstitutional, because that's not a constitutional office. So, Chair, mine is to request that, because the governor has said, I think he said it is not final. So we want to know whether is the agreement final. Because if it is not final, then the input of this committee must be reflected in that agreement. And finally, Chair, the public participation, I think, is just cosmetic. It's coming post-signature. You know, the agreement has been done. It will take effect in 14 days. Then we go to the people to ask them, do you agree with us? We have already sold the land. We have already given the title. Now we are asking people, are you willing to move, or are you agreeing to this issue, Chair? So I think these are some of the things that we need to understand, because even the monies that we are saying, the 80 billion or so, Chair, we need to understand how is it going to be appropriated. Is the money going to come to the county first, and then the county assembly to appropriate through the budgeting making process? Then the money goes to these projects? Or is it the national government that is going to oversee their projects and then bring the money? I don't know through how. So that is an issue we need to look into, Chair, because the agreement, as I said earlier, during our pre-discussion, is that the agreement is not complete, because it is saying when it comes to financial matters, they will jointly agree. So it is an agreement that is saying there are some things that need to be agreed. So is it an agreement really? That is the question.
Okay, next.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Governor. I see the zeal he had as Senator fighting for the resources of Nairobi here again, and he has expressed it in many ways. I want to go to very specific questions, taking from what Senator Tango has said. You have already a running CIDP. What is the relationship within this CIDP and the additional programs that are coming under the agreement? You also have an annual development plan. Are you going to have an addendum of the annual development plan, or you are going to run 2 annual development plans to be able to fulfill these programs? Because this is very important for comfort and assurance of both the Senate and the County Assembly, that first, what was planned for will not be forgotten, and that whatever else you are going to do can be separated. And I'll say this because I was an MP in the 10th Parliament when we still had councillors. And we discovered that we were, whatever we were reporting as CDF programs were also being reported at the county council by councillors. And that is very dangerous, because if there is an overlap, you will not know what Nairobi County has done versus what Kura has done versus what the national government has done under this new framework. How do you separate them, both for development and for accountability? Then comes the reporting system. In the reporting system, in this agreement, you have said in clause 7.5 that the agreement, in clause 7.5, the agreement provides that the parties shall report to the National Cabinet and the County Executive Committee annually. I hope the Comptroller of Budget will still have his reports to the Senator, because normally the Comptroller of Budget must give the area senator, a report annually of what is going on with any funding that touches on counties. And this already has attracted the counties. But could you clarify why the agreement does not give us a reporting system to the oversight arm, which is the Senate? It does not give us a reporting mechanism to the county assembly, because for us, this is dangerous. Your agreement is crossing 2 governments. We hope that you'll be the next governor, but should you not be the next governor of austerity and beyond your term and the term of even the current national government, how do you see this taking place, because unless we have a watertight way of reporting projects that are under collaboration, they can easily be abused. Let me leave it at that for now, for this first round. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. My questions will be specific. I wanted to know from the government. I think when you went to State House, somebody had a machete on the right hand and then and the agreement on the left hand. That is what I'm thinking, because governor is a very clever person and knows what he was doing. I want to refer the governor to the agreement in South Africa, same agreement. And then that agreement talks about clear statement of the parties and their authorized representatives. That's A. B, it wants detailed objectives and priorities of the protocol, means the agreement. Detailed objectives, what do you want to get out of this agreement? What road? What hospital? All those things. Then C talks about and detailed clause listing the precise roles and responsibilities of each sphere, either national and the county government. D talks about clear governance structure with balanced composition and defined functions of every committee. Balanced composition. The governor, you signed the document without even talking about balanced composition. That's why I was asking you, Nikopanga Homkona, right? Then E, specific financial contributions, specific, and resource commitments of each party listed in the schedule. How much are they going to contribute? What is the county government going to contribute? Then it talks about detailed work plan attached to the agreement that includes objectives, measurable indicators, outputs, and many other things. Then it talks about mandatory monitoring, reporting, and dispute resolution mechanism. Dispute resolution mechanism with step-by-step escalation. And finally, duration, review, amendments, and termination clauses. That is what the Professor is talking about. You are happy with this contract as an individual. Dispute resolution. But when Babu Owino becomes the governor, he will say, no, this is not my work. This is the work of the county Sakaja. So finally,
I think the senator is completely out of order.
Finally,
Needs to withdraw that.
let me withdraw that statement. Finally, explicit requirement that all projects align with the municipality's integrated development plan, which is CIDP. That is what the professor was asking. Governor, the agreement talks about refuse collection, county roads, street lighting, development of markets, housing, water and sanitation, public health, and finally, any other such areas may be necessary. So my question would be, Excellency, what is your problem? Is it that you don't have enough capacity, manpower to do this work, or it is money? If it is money, there is some money that you are supposed to be paid by the national government, which was passed by the National Assembly. Did you write to the national government before you sign this contract?
Which one is that?
There is some money they are supposed to pay you.
Oh, he's saying there's money that was passed. Which one is that?
It was passed in the parliament. Can tell
Which
us,
one is that?
madam?
I think Chair is referencing the rating act that was passed that requires
National Rating Act.
contribution in lieu.
Yes. Yes, sir.
I think I've addressed that here before.
Let me
So,
finish.
regulations.
So did you? So all these things you are supposed to do, if your problem is money, the due rights to the national government to ask for unconditional or even conditional funding so that you can manage this county. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. And Your Excellency, Governor, we welcome you to this committee. And my apologies for being late. I had another meeting. Chair, first of all, I want to appreciate the work the governor is doing. It's one job that I don't admire. You are running a capital city, not just a county government, and that is something we must put at the back of our brains. And I personally do not see a problem when the governor seeks to cooperate with the national government in ensuring that the operations in the capital city of Kenya are smooth. And I can see that in the agreement, the cooperation agreement, you have quoted 189 of the Constitution, and I think that is what is protecting the terms and conditions of this agreement. But I also realize that in 189(2), they say that, let me just read it directly. The government at each level and different governments at the county level shall cooperate in the performance of functions and exercise of powers, and for that purpose may set up joint committees and joint authorities. And I want to believe that this is a joint authority. While we respect that article, my main problem with it will be, I think you had put the cart before the horse in regards to the public participation. What we are doing here now is asking you questions about what the agreement entails. I believe the public participation should have come before the agreement to be able to hear the views of the citizens of Nairobi County and also the committee. And I also believe that one of the articles that is greatly misinterpreted in these countries in our constitution is 190. I'm sorry, I'm not a lawyer, but 190, where it talks about the support for county governments. And number 5 says that the legislation under clause 3 shall require a notice to be given to a county government of any measures that the national government intends to take. And it also says that the legislation should also permit the national government to take only measures that are necessary. And it continues to say, or the legislation will require the national government, when it intervenes, to take measures that will assist the county government to resume full responsibility for its functions and provide a process by which the Senate may bring the intervention by the national government. Personally, I think, to the best of my knowledge and being a good student of English, I think many times we take that article to mean that it's always because the county government is unable to operate or run its function. This is when the national government intervenes. In my view, I think there are more than several instances where a national government may seek the intervention of a national government as long as it's cooperating and not fully taking over or diluting its mandate. But I would like to know, Governor, in the event that after the public participation, the views go against the agreement or what is stipulated in the agreement, is there a room to rethink the agreement? Thank you.
Governor, I have one more little thing. You are aware that IGRTC gazetted a number of parastatals that are holding county functions. And we are expecting that the Council of Governors should be following up on the matters of these parastatals at the summit. Now, I see one of the areas where you want to have cooperation is the roads, and Kura is one of the parastatals that have actually appeared before this committee. Basically, we are asking them when are they winding up, and what they told us is that they have no clue because their parent ministry has not spoken to this. So it would be good to know, because if Kura functions were to revert to the counties, basically the monies Kura is spending in Nairobi would be Nairobi City County money, not even conditional grants. It would actually be monies that come to yourselves. So we would want, even as you do this, I know you're thinking Nairobi County, that Council of Governors would also be alive to the need to help to implement, even as the Senate tries to do its best to ensure that the Constitution is followed. We must ensure that even as we sign agreements, we don't claw back on the little gains that the Senate is making in trying to ensure that the county gets all its functions. Thank you.
Okay. Let me also add one through. Your Excellency, in the duration of the agreement, I think it's 24 months, which extends to the next government. So the agreement does not automatically say or binding like the next government. Will it be binding the next government that will come in, whether you're there or not? Two, it does not say the procedures and conditions for renewal of agreements. So maybe you can ask on those.
So I'm just doing a quick calculation. Chair, thank you. And thank you, Senators, for your very good interventions. I'm glad that you all realize two things. One, that there must be an agreement. The law provides there shall be an agreement, and unless you amend the law here. But the law that you've given us as a legislature says there must be an agreement between Nairobi and the national government. I'm glad that there's that realization. Number two, I will emphasize there is no transfer of functions. In this agreement, the national government will do its work and the county will do its work. This agreement is not to oversight county functions per se. When you see a chair committee with a PS of Interior, security is not devolved, but why am I chairing a committee that has a PS for Interior? Because there are security concerns in the capital. There are national projects that many times we just find have been passed, because the county government does not come. And I wish most counties would have an arrangement where the governors can see what is being proposed by the national government to do, so that the county does different things. But you see, when Kura, for instance, and I'll come to the discussion in Kura, when Kura or Kera or Kena are identifying which roads to do in Nairobi, the governor should be there to help prioritize. The senator should be there, the MPs should be there. But you see, they operate vaguely. And I'll give you an example. One big challenge that we've had in this city is the mobility challenge. Mobility is a big challenge. One of the solutions is BRT. In December of 2022, the European Investment Bank and AFD came to me saying they have 314 million euros and 74 million euros respectively for line 3 that comes from Dandora. Because of the lack of any structure, it took me 2 years to get cabinet to approve that funding request. But even to date, the loan request has not gone. Because you see, when you have a priority of the capital, if you don't have a forum through which, either weekly or fortnightly, these guys have other national priorities. And so they don't see it as a priority. It took me 2 years to just get that. So for me, I'm thinking pragmatically, if I have an arrangement that will help me push, remember, this is not just for county functions, also national functions within the capital. When it says the seat of diplomatic missions in Section 6, diplomacy and foreign service is not a county function. But you see, this is the capital where all of these diplomats are. How do we provide for them? For instance, we're providing water and such amenities at the UN. And now we've done a new line through KTTC, which is now Diplomatic Village. That Falcam is the city, is the capital. All of these foreign countries want to have a sister agreement with Nairobi. How do you domicile those? So let's have clarity that it is not to sit to oversight county functions, but together to look at what have we jointly agreed to do, and is it being done, and how can we do it better, and to bring these concerns. Their concerns, security concerns, are very big in the city. And now the normal wananchi in Nairobi, the way they will not know. I saw another demonstration the day before yesterday on the Eastern Bypass because vehicles were, I think, submerged, and someone's vehicle was really injured. And if you hear them, they're talking about the governor. That is not even a Kura road, it's a Kenha road. Now, the Senate needs to be radical because, I have a choice to do two things. One, I can pontificate and say, this is the purity of how the arrangement needs to be. So let me wait for the day you disband Kura and Kera and Kenha for me to have a discussion on roads in Nairobi. Or I can be practical and say, I need these roads done. And if there's a situation where I can get more resources, I've just calculated for you 7 billion, 6 billion, 3.7 billion. If there's a situation where I can get more resources as the governor, as the Senate and National Assembly works on disbanding these agencies, I will go for that money. Because my people don't want to know a lot of English about, they want things done. They want things done. And the city must move. And let me give you an example. Because this is a discussion we had for a long time. And I remember the late the minister saying, actually being very strong, even when MPs were against him, saying Kura and Kera must be disbanded. He even gave somebody a task, a former PS, to do a paper to see which counties can actually absorb those functions. Because not all counties have that capacity. Kura and Kera work throughout the country. Kura is not only in Nairobi. Kura is in Nakuru, Kura is in anywhere with an urban aspect. The ruling that was passed last year on RMLF that was suspended is where the real story is. If you look at the constitution, it defines only two levels of roads: national roads and county roads. Number two, county roads make up close to 70% of all the roads in the country. Now, every person on a road in Kenya is paying fuel for roads to be maintained. Last year, they collected 119.7 billion. Out of that 119.7 billion, 70% of it that would come to counties would be 83.9 billion. Out of that 83.9 billion, Nairobi would get more than 10 billion.
Point of order, Chair.
Okay. I mean,
Point of order. I don't mean to disrupt you, Governor. We are all in agreement with all those things you're saying. We have asked specific questions about the constitutionality and legality of the agreement.
Okay.
In order for us to use our time best, I think you should just answer the specific questions we've raised, because we have been very clear. The answers that we want to.
Order.
The question on Kura is a specific question.
Just a minute, Chair. Governor, leave Kenha, Kura to us. That is our fight as a Senate. And we've always fought on your side as a Council of Governors on the question of RLF. We want you to address the specific concerns of the Senate on the legality and constitutionality of this agreement.
Okay. So, Chair,
go on to other
Chair, should I choose whose questions to answer?
Yes, please. Let me tell you.
Because Senator Muma has asked a very specific question.
No, let me ask you one thing. There are several questions the members have asked.
Yeah.
Each one of us here asked a question. And
I think everyone's question is important.
In the interest of time, just go one by one.
That's what I'm doing.
Yes.
Yeah. This is the last question.
Okay.
Right. You're the answer who asked the questions.
Proceed.
So can I answer everyone's question?
Right.
Can I answer everyone's question?
Yeah, you may.
Yeah. Thank you.
Please.
So, the IGRTC that gazetted parastatals with county funds, and they're mainly including the museum, including some of these libraries, is a process that is so convoluted with a lot of bureaucracy. To be pragmatic as to what I can do today. That person dodging sewage in Mathare, etc., wants a solution today. It's not about Athi water versus Nairobi water. We want to get those solutions today. Number two, Senator Izana, thank you, because you appreciate the need to get more resources. Moving from 20B to 80 and above for me is historic, and it is something that will be seen. These are projects that you will see. They'll be done in the city, and I have to make sure they're done. The Constitution talks about joint committees, Article 189, that there shall be joint committees. Or rather, it says you may set up joint committees. But the Act says you must have an agreement. So it's not a new governance structure. It is a joint committee. It is not a new entity. It's not an NMS. There's no NMS agreement to continue doing what its functions are. The only thing we're provided for, because we are the capital city, is additional focus allocation, additional allocation of resources, and a coordination on how things are being run. A coordination, within the capital city. I'll answer the question on public participation, in fully, because everyone has asked that. Before I get there, Senator Chute uses the essay example and says many things. What is needed in our agreement is not what is in South Africa. It is what is in Section 6. Section 6 says the agreement may include and lists. These are a good example on what SA has done. In fact, SA is one of the countries with a similar structure of fiscal decentralization as we do. But if you ask the mayor of Cape Town, Jordan Hill Lewis, he will tell you that on top of what he's able to raise, there is actually additional support to Cape Town and to Pretoria that comes either through that structure or as a direct allocation. Now, the issue of conditional grants, if you look at the quantum of the kind of resources we're getting, conditional grants would be a good way to do it. I do not dispute that. But the appropriation at the National Assembly for specific capital city is really what I'm pushing for. Conditional grants can be additional. And a lot of the conditional grants, just look at what we've passed the last 3 years, are donor projects, maybe apart from KIPES, which also has a donor component to it. It is being supported by the World Bank. Yeah. So it's up to you as the Senate. That is your role. Remember, I'm also here defending an arrangement that is not just county, it's county and national. If there's a way you can refine it, let's refine it. So long as the end being additional allocation to the county because of its status as a capital city, resolving some of these service delivery challenges, that no matter who is running this place, if you don't sort out the fiscal arrangement of the city, you saw NMS came, and this is very different. I'll come to your question, Chair. It's very different, but they came, warned people for 2 years and left 16 billion pending bills, not paid. Was it effective? Was the county left better? No. So the issue really is the resources. Part of what you're assisting us with includes the regulations under the national rating. That will unlock billions for the city. The regulations are to be passed by the cabinet secretary. The regulations, I have now a platform where I can follow up where are we with these regulations, and we have to report on it. I'm with the PS of lands there. I'm on another platform with the CS. I can push it. Otherwise, it's a discussion that comes up when you meet or you write a letter that is ignored. For the capital, it's great that I will be able to chair that session or be in another session where these things can be minuted and can be reported back on. That yes, we've done the regulations. Here is the regulations on sectional property law, which I also require from yourselves, because we must make it mandatory for people to move. If we do that, we'll get another 60, 70 billion. On the question on silo, yes, we wrote to the ministry. What they owe us is not 100 billion. What they owe us on rates and silo is around 3.6. And we wrote on it, yes, billion. What the law provides is that now counties do not bill the ministries directly. You write through the NLC. And so you write to the NLC, and the NLC then transmits it to the PS Finance, and that process is ongoing. In fact, the discussion now is, do they give us in 2 tranches or 1 tranche? And that includes parking. You can see all these parkings around here that ministries cordon off, but don't pay the county, So there are many such debts. The biggest quantum, my senator, is on Embakasi Garrison. That is why we have 68 billion what we valued. And the agreement had been, and I saw a letter just done recently to the PS Treasury to provide for those allocations in the supplementary. But you see, that you're keen on. Yeah. So We will hear what the views are. Already, I've had things that need to be amended. Already, from the public, I have had. But both levels of government then will review what has come from the people. We'll have to review it, but there must be an agreement, guys. The capital will not change without this provision, unless you tell me another provision of adding 80 billion or 100 billion to the city. There is, please provide. If it's conditional grants, do it. You're the Senate. Give it to us. Yeah. Let me hear during the budget policy statement that you've increased Nairobi's allocation by 80. I will tell this agreement. I will not need it. But for now, I must, as the governor, as a responsible governor who cares for his people, I must find whichever way that will get me resources to sort of this city. I must get it. Lazima I work. You know, I don't have another route. Remember, let me give you another example. Yesterday in Parliament, you've discussed the National Infrastructure Fund. Yeah. This National Infrastructure Fund will create around 5 trillion. That is the goal. Already 2 trillion. It's the way I'm going to plug into it. Because you cannot go to think of yourself. Now, how do I plug in and get projects for the city? Whether it is massive road projects, the city is 250 billion, and I keep asking for more projects. How will I plug into the sovereign wealth fund without an arrangement with the government and a setting where I am chairing a committee that is discussing this every 2 weeks? We have to be pragmatic.
We accept it and we appreciate that you must do these things. But how procedures have followed laws?
Yes, that is where you guide. Yes, yeah, you guide us. Pending bills of NMS, yes, those ones must be paid. The difference, we've not created a new entity or organization here. There is no counting officer that has been created. If Kura's budget, they get an additional 8 billion. The DG of Kura will still have to account. But who defines and determines which roads are done in that 5 billion? Where do we prioritize? You know, whether it is Agwins, whether it is whatnot, is the forum where I'm chairing. So that I can also, we even have Kera in Nairobi, rural roads. What are they doing in Nairobi? So, Chair, that's the difference between us and NMS. And I promised, Chair, as Senator, I also promised, as Governor, that I would never transfer functions from Nairobi. I said it in the Assembly. I will not transfer. I think Article 187 is a bad provision. Counties need to be strengthened to do better. So if you have a better way to do it, please, that is why you have a committee of devolution. Your work is to protect the interests of counties and their governments. And that is who is here. A county and its government, isn't it? Let me look for a question I've not answered. Senator Sifuna, very, very, very clearly says that no one is against development. I like that. And that is true. We want to do it within the law. That is true. Let us do it within the law. But let's also do it. You know, some people feel you fix the wings as you fly. You know, we can wait and for a perfect agreement or a perfect law. It will never happen, Senator Sifuna. Yes, but I'm saying you cannot have a perfect agreement, especially if it's the first one. Who is the president? Please draft for me one.
The chair. You can see the divide here. There's people who believe the ends justify the means. And there's also of us who say there is a way it can be done constitutionally and legally.
Yes.
And I'm hoping, Chair, that when we get to the closing remarks, because I've had some of your friends saying some of us just criticize we don't have ways in which it can be done. We will give you ways in which.
Which friends? You've said my friends.
Yeah, some of your friends say some of us just make noise. We never give proposals and wait for it. It's good that you are throwing that challenge to us, because some of us, just a minute, Chair, you will give us an opportunity to show you how it can be done constitutionally. Yes.
Chair, thank you. And when I'm asking about friends, you know, earlier the senator said I'm his friend. So my friend is his friend also. Unless
He's not my friend, you know that.
But you are my friend.
Yeah, we don't have to have the same friends.
Senator is my good friend.
Hold on, I know you're speaking to
Unless you have changed, he is a former friend.
He has already declared it.
No, he's not a former friend.
Chair, can I summarize for the two of you?
So Bursar is in scholarship.
Now members of this committee want to pick my friends.
So, proceed.
Chair. Again, I had noted when Senator Sifuna was speaking about Section 189(2) on cooperation. Already the Constitution, yes, the Constitution is higher than the Urban Areas and Cities Act. The Constitution says there should be cooperation. 189, and Senator Muma, you've said it out very well, and that the national or county government may establish joint committee with specific mandate where such a committee is necessary for the achievement of those things. It is true, we had an intergovernmental agreement on bursaries and scholarship. Yeah. That intergovernmental agreement that we signed on the 9th of January, I gave scholarships of 170 million. Last week, I've given 252 million of bursaries to every ward. But it is not any additional money from the national government. It is our resources. No, the intergovernmental agreement is just to allow the counties to fill that gap. There's a big problem. Parents are suffering. They need help.
The transfer of functions without following the process.
You can call it that. It is really the COB and the COG finding common. But remember, for 10 years, bursaries and scholarships have been given. They continue to be given, and the need is there. It's appreciated. But you see now, with this framework, for instance, the bursaries and scholarships I would give can be funded additionally by the national government. So it's really how you look at it,
The chair, the question there was, Governor,
Yeah.
is there a similar committee like the Musalia committee running our bursaries, so that we demonstrate to you that that animal you have created under the current agreement is an unnecessary animal. You are doing bursaries with an agreement with the national government without a similar committee.
Chair, bursaries, scholarships, programs don't need committees. Coordination of the capital in terms of focusing budget from one level to another would require a committee where you sit, where all the pieces bring what they're proposing for the budget, and we go through them and we prioritize. That needs a committee. If you want to prioritize programs, if you want to look at implementation of programs, if you want to look at how far we are, it requires it. Otherwise, we still get things done slowly. Or I bumped into this PS, or I went to his office, or I called this CS. I don't like doing that. I've asked you, for instance, for those regulations for more than a year and a half. The Rating Act was passed in 2024. But imagine I have a forum where I'm chairing every 2 weeks to follow it up. It's not even just to follow it up. I can come up with the draft myself and have that committee pass it. And for cabinet to then sanction for it to be, gazetted. So for me, I feel it is necessary. I feel this
all feel it's very necessary.
And I feel the agreement.
Hold on. The city requires that kind of commitments. But the thing is, we're only saying, let's follow the constitution and everything will be done well.
Chair, I feel that we follow the constitution. 100%. I am convinced.
Okay.
The extent to which maybe you will say the participation is not 100% or whatnot is debatable. It is subjective. But following the constitution, 189 of setting up joint committees of collaboration, Article 6 of setting up an agreement, I am 100% sure that we've done it. And let me tell you, Chair, just to affirm, because I want to finish. Tomorrow I will do it again. Because I believe it is the only way. I've looked at what the city requires, Chair. Many times I see that frustration because of lack of resources. The blame game because of lack of clarity on what is a county function and what is a national function. What has taken me even to be able to pay salaries on time. Today is the 26th and I'm paying salaries. The arrangements that we had to make. I've looked at other cities. I've sat here 5 years. I've looked at what Lagos is doing, whether it is in waste management, whether it is in resourcing it. I promise you, as a steward of this city, because it's a mandate from the people, this is a route I have seen that I would stand for anywhere and I would defend anywhere. Currently, there is a court process. I think the hearing is sometime in March, etc. I am willing to go on the dock myself to defend why I have seen this as an opportunity for my city, because questions will be asked and I'll have to account for that. Chair, let me leave it at that. I don't know if there's a question I have not answered.
Chair,
I've finished.
let me ask. The governor said there is 68 billion from the garrison. Can you explain to us what is the situation with that money?
Yeah, the Supreme Court ruled that there had been a dispute between two parties about 900 and something acres and 18 acres of land in Embakasi. The military is in possession. The discussion then was to find out how, because Nairobi County bought it for value. You can't just say it's county, it's government land, let's leave it to them. And so he said we must go through how the value accrues back to the city. The valuation has come to 68 billion. We have been discussing now debt swaps. What Nairobi owes the national government, or the national government owes us. Some of the debts that can be taken up by national government. And we must remember the challenge of counties. Senator Chute, the national government sits down and says, this is what we want to do for Kenyans. Then they determine this is how much we collect. The rest, they borrow of their deficit financing. Counties don't. Counties, you work with what you have. So if an opportunity arises like that, on why I'm following up that 68, is because it will help sort out all pending bills. Remember, I found pending bills at 109 billion. With the 20 billion from Senate every year, how do you sort out pending bills of 109 billion? 109. We've reviewed them. Now it has come down to, is it 86 or 70? 88 billion? NMS. No. NMS, we said that. Okay. But the county bills we've reduced from 109 to 86 billion in 3 years. Okay. If I can get an additional resource to sort that out, because it is true, people are suffering. People have done work. I know people who even, have fatal cases. People have committed suicide. When you tell someone to come do a job and you can't pay them, you'd rather not even have given them that job in the first place. So really the practicality, and I would want to have a session where we can go through, or maybe that is part, where I can show you the financial state of the papers that have been done in the past. The central bank governor today did an analysis in 2014 of what would need to unlock this capital. Remember, we're dealing with a backlog of issues from the 90s. So this is one route we've seen. If it can be made better, let us make it better. But let us support, the county and its government.
Just a minute. You're through. Okay,
I think I've answered everything.
Okay, let's go for Ramtua, please. Very brief.
Governor, I hope we are sending the message that you can't do an agreement. And I've heard you say that there are few things you've heard from the public. I hope there are few things you've heard from this committee that would add value to this agreement. So my advice would be that knowing that Kenyans are very litigious, in my view, it helps your cause to actually listen and help to look at these things. Now, one issue that I had wanted to bring your attention to is your on the rules and clause 4.1 Roman 7, you are considering the roles and the responsibilities of partners in entering into agreements with other parties. Now, one of the contemplated issue from that paragraph may be public-private partnerships. And I hope that even as you do so, you are aware of the limitations in that act when it comes to counties. I think you yourselves has once mentioned the opportunity you had to actually go into a PPP, but I think there is a restriction around national government guaranteeing to see whether, if I were you, you might want to unbundle in this agreement a clause that would expressly facilitate the kind of PPPs that you would have without having to go through other bureaucracies. So you might want to look at that. But in that clause, you are talking of other agreements that would be subject to public participation as well. So your drafters need to be careful around that. That very clause could actually lock you out of moving on this issue. Yeah, I think I'll raise that for the time being.
Chair, first I want to take this opportunity to thank this committee for helping highlight some of the issues that we have with this agreement with as a people of Nairobi. As you've rightly stated, Governor, our role here is to protect the interests of the counties and their governments. Your government, I will protect your government, even though I did not vote for you. And it doesn't matter who is in the office. It is the responsibility of the Senate to protect that government. Governor, you have seen yourself. We can argue about subjectivity or objectivity of public participation if it has happened prior to a project or prior to an agreement. But it is honestly an objective mishap for you to enter into the agreement prior to participation of people being undertaken. That is an objective criticism that it has been done before. If you did it before and then people were ferried or people affected opinion, that is a subjective conversation that can be had. But you must admit that this agreement is fraught with very serious legal landmines. And when we say these things, it's not to say we don't want the money. Governor, you have thrown the challenge to us saying when we pass the county government's allocation, we should include this 80 billion that the president. How are we supposed to know that the president was willing to give us this money or that the national government had this money for Nairobi anyway? It arose from conversations that you had. And unfortunately, the problem we are saying we have is that those conversations were private conversations. We were not privy to those conversations. If it were me, I would give proper advice to the president and tell him, oh, by the way, if that money is there, please let us put it through the additional allocations and we will still get it. And the money comes straight to your government, for you to be able to do these things. Some of us still believe that the Nairobi County government can still collect trash. Because this one is an admission that we need Musalia supervising collection of trash in Nairobi, which is what doesn't sit well with many of us. I want to dissuade you because, Chair, just let me point out that we actually are age mates. We come from the same generation. And we want a different conversation in this country. I want to dissuade you from these arguments of Bora tumefanya. Talanta Stadium is there. It doesn't matter whether the Auditor General was, the Auditor General has raised questions, whether the AG was consulted with the public procurement laws were followed with. I understand also the exasperation of our people. Our people don't care which level of government has built a bridge if the bridge needs to be built. But as a generation, we want to raise the bar, Governor. It can still be done through the law. And this is the demonstration that I wanted us to do as a Senate. This is the advice that we're giving. Governor, this thing is fraught with legal landmines. Shelve it and let us start afresh. Now that we know the idea is there, don't be shy publishing a notice like you've done in other projects in the city, saying we are thinking of doing this. Share a draft with the assembly, with your senator, with the public, and then let people engage, collect views. Say, after the publication of the draft, Nairobians have said, Mr. President, that we can do this through this and this and this. Incorporate those things because public participation, as I've said, cannot be something that is cosmetic. We must see our views, whatever those views are, reflected in the final document. Please shelve this thing and let us start afresh. Tell the president, now that we know he has 80 billion for us, let him send it through the appropriations in the National Assembly. Let it come through the county government's additional allocation. Just the way we send money for KIPES and for construction of the county headquarters. We want a transfer of all functions to Nairobi County government. You have quoted by late party leader. I agree with you. He was of the opinion that we do not need Kera and Kura running around Nairobi. Show the capacity to absorb the money, the budgets that Kura and Kera have. Let us have this money because, as you said, when there's a blockage on Ojijo Road, nobody knows who to call other than the county government of Nairobi and the governor of Nairobi. We, as a Senate, have fought that fight with you. In fact, the last time on Governor, if you are going to be honest, it is the COG that abandoned the Senate in the fight for RMLA. They came before us and told us this is a fight we're going to fight together. Then you go and you might attend there in that address that some of us don't visit, and you agree on something else, and the next thing we know, there is a compromise in the case. It has never been the fault of the Senate. We who believe in the purity of the Constitution and that devolved functions must come to the county governments, we will continue to push that. In my other capacity, there is a document that I defend, the MOU that was signed between the president and the late Raila Odinga. We put a clause there on the unbundling of all functions. We have only 2 more weeks to go, Governor. That has not happened. Leave that to us. We will fight for you. But please also insist on following the law and we will be fine. Lastly, Chair, we in the Senate passed something called a disbursement schedule. It is one of the most useless pieces of legislation that we engage in passing as a Senate. I have protested even on the floor of the House because the National Treasury never follows its disbursement schedule. Let us fight that fight for you, Governor. We understand that some of the problems that we face in the counties is because it is unpredictable. You can't know. Your finance officer there cannot know when the money is going to come in. We in the Senate say 15th of every month, Treasury must release all this money. We have a man in Treasury who, anyway, I don't want to go that direction. But we have argued as a Senate that the National Treasury sometimes believes and behaves like it is a national government treasury and not a treasury that is supposed to fight and serve all levels of government. So we will do our part, Governor, but please, it is possible to govern this country in accordance with the law. Let us not have this policy of the end justifying the means. That is the reason why the Constitution exists. It's not a stumbling block. The Constitution is not an what is it called? It's not an obstacle or unnecessary, what is the word? It's not an unnecessary impediment to the achievement of progress. In fact, every single thing that we do has to be done in accordance with this Constitution. So with those many remarks, Governor, I want to advise you that it is possible for us to achieve what we want to achieve. Now that we know that money is there, allow us to get it for you in the most legal and constitutional way. Otherwise, with these challenges in court, without public participation, many projects and things have been struck down on that account alone. And I can tell you that you are looking at that very prospect. I thank you, Honorable Chair.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Chair. You want to finish this first?
No.
Okay, yeah. I only have 2 points actually in this point. Number one, I want to agree with the governor that as far as Section 6.5 of the Urban Areas and Cities Act is concerned, this is a legal document. And I think this is really unpacking what we have already agreed earlier, that the city must be done differently and that there shall be an agreement at the center. So I have no problem as far as the agreement is concerned, Governor. What I'm just wondering is about the scope and areas of collaboration, which I am very happy with the broad areas, but look at 3.26. 3.26 says, and such other areas may be that may be necessary. It is good to have that provision, but you must delimit that provision as far as public participation is concerned, and who will participate in identifying those necessary areas. So if I were to introduce an amendment, I would have said that should go further through an approval from the county assembly, because the county assembly will then implement public participation in additional areas for the additional areas of implementation. Otherwise, when you leave it at this, and I want to congratulate you that you are bold enough to go for this agreement and to look for this section 6.5, which has not been done before. But you don't want to leave an open-ended thing that any other governor comes and has a problem with, or a Pandora's box that anybody can implement in any other way. So I would suggest that you amend that to restrict it so that these new areas will be subjected to the actual process of public participation and whatever, but that can only be done if you say through an approval from the county assembly, then they will do it. It will be an automatic thing because county assemblies can only approve anything that they will have had their own public participation. I leave it at that, Chair.
Okay, next.
Thank you, Chair. I think maybe when the governor is giving his closing remarks, he can come out clearly on where the county assembly is left when it comes to this kind of cooperation. And also the issue of the pending bills, the NMS, about 16 billion or so, NMS pending bill, because those people who work for Nairobi County are left in oblivion. They don't know whether to come to the governor or to go to the national government. And if they go to the national government, where do they go? And if this agreement was to be effected, will it now again an issue of where will they go for their pending bills, because they're going to be bills, Chair. But what I can say in my closing remarks, Chair, is that this agreement, if well structured, if it follows the law, it is what Nairobi needs, Chair. And we are also saying it's actually also an opportunity to those who are saying they will take us to Singapore. to take us to Nairobi. I mean, to show us what they can do with one city, one county. Now the city of Nairobi, the county of Nairobi has a president and has a governor. So I think it is also an opportunity for them to show us what they can do before they take the whole country to Singapore. And Chair, finally, to give an advice to the governor or whatever is needed. But the governor has said, if this committee finds that this agreement is not a good one, he can restructure or he can do it. So, Chair, you are now left to probably in your guidance to render it unconstitutional, illegal, so that they can come up with another one. But, Chair, for it to work, it must have four things, Chair. One, it must preserve the county's identity, what the county stands for, what the county is made of. Two, it must protect the county assemblies. We cannot have the national government coming in through the back door and leaving the county assembly doing nothing or not giving the oversight power that it has been given. And three, Chair, it must safeguard budget's integrity. Because in everything that comes in, Chair, they must do proper appropriation of these amounts. And finally, which is now the issue and the reason why we're here, it must ensure public participation. Because the objects of devolution, Chair, is for counties to manage their own affairs. So if Nairobi people are for sure if this kind of argument, they must answer that question and they must give their input because it is their county, it is their home. Otherwise, Chair, we all need to look into this agreement and make it better. And if at all, whatever the governor is saying that they can look into it, I think this is an opportunity.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, Chair, I say two and I left out the second one. The second one that the governor must tighten is the roles and responsibilities of the national government versus the county government in this agreement. It is the first agreement, we recognize that, but there are some basic things that you must make sure that you don't let go. So please work on the roles and responsibilities of the two levels of government so that it is not messed up when you are not there. It is very easy when you are developing something to assume that everybody really understands, but they don't understand. Put it in black and white so that we are very clear what roles each level of government is doing, because it's not in that agreement. Thank you.
Hasana, quick one.
Thank you, Chair. And I want to agree with the governor that the capital city needs practicing, not too much bureaucracy or too much English. And I really appreciate a leader who gets to work, gets into action. Our country cannot be managed and run by too much English. We have tried it since colonialism, and it has not helped us. And I realized the agreement has particularly focused on very essential services and sectors, like waste management, water supply, and electricity. It's embarrassing that in the city we have places and marketplaces that really stink. We have roads that are still like farms. I cannot be walking on a rough road in Samburu and still walking a rough road in Nairobi. I need to feel the difference. I've been promising my people that when I'm governor someday, I would make Samburu be like Nairobi. And it's also talking
is the roles and responsibilities of the national government versus the county government in this agreement. It is the first agreement, we recognize that, but there are some basic things that you must make sure that you don't let go. So please work on the roles and responsibilities of the two levels of government so that it is not messed up when you are not there. It is very easy when you are developing something to assume that everybody really understands, but they don't understand. Put it in black and white so that we are very clear what roles each level of government is doing, because it's not in that agreement. Thank you.
Hasana, quick one.
Thank you, Chair. And I want to agree with the governor that the capital city needs practicing, not too much bureaucracy or too much English. And I really appreciate a leader who gets to work, gets into action. Our country cannot be managed and run by too much English. We have tried it since colonialism, and it has not helped us. And I realized the agreement has particularly focused on very essential services and sectors like waste management, water supply, and electricity. It's embarrassing that in the city we have places and marketplaces that really stink. We have roads that are still like farms. I cannot be walking on a rough road in Samburu and still walk in a rough road in Nairobi. I need to feel the difference. I've been promising my people that when I'm governor someday, I would make Samburu be like Nairobi. And it's also talking about housing infrastructure, county roads, and public health. It's also a shame that the capital city we have water shortage and electricity is controlled. Sometimes we have electricity failing in one line and I don't know why I'm echoing, but I want to agree with you, Your Excellency, and personally, I support that kind of leadership. I just need you to ensure that there is proper public participation, and whatever the citizens of Nairobi and Kenyans at large who benefit from their capital city is taken into serious consideration after the public participation. I also would like to bring to your attention the fact that many young people were not paid when they were working for NMS. You need to do something now that you have told us you have a table or a committee where you meet the PSs and everyone who was involved, because NMS was part of Nairobi County, and the people who are affected are members of Nairobi County. I sincerely hope that during those meetings they prioritize settling the dues of the people who are affected by the NMS. And I also hope that you have learned lessons and mistakes that NMS made, and you do something to make sure that it works. I support making Nairobi work, and I hope you get re-elected as the county governor of Nairobi. Thank you. I know we suffered in Bomas together, and I had a 2-hour conversation with you before I found myself in the middle of Bomas with chairs, lifting chairs. And I know I had a moment to talk to you for this is my views, chair. I should not be gagged. I had a 2-hour discussion with you, Governor, and it is from that moment that I realized you have a dream for Nairobi, and I hope God blesses you to make it work. Thank you.
Azana, you can tell her to withdraw, just the way you told students.
God bless Kenya.
Yeah, please. Azana, you're campaigning. What's happening? Please not right.
If you made Senator Judith withdraw about Babu, you can also withdraw about negativity.
I am not withdrawing that.
Order, please. And this is a committee meeting, eh? Next time, don't campaign the committee meetings.
I'm not campaigning. I was just trying to make sure that I'm objective in my views.
Okay.
I don't have a personal interest with the governor. I'm not going to participate in politics of selfish interest against anybody in this government. Thank you.
Very well. Let's go, please.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, Governor, that I'm very late for your meeting. I was in another committee. My name is Ferris Tobiko from Kajiado County, and I'm a member of this committee. I'll be very brief because I believe the comments that the other senators have said could sufficiently work. But let me just say this. Governor, this agreement has the potential to either build you or completely destroy you. This is what I will say. If you get it right, then Nairobi people will go to the ballot smiling. If you get it wrong, and this is the only way you can get it wrong, if you abrogate the responsibilities that the Nairobi people gave you and you hand it over to another power or another institution, I can tell you and you handed it over before we give you a chance again. That you will be done. But Governor, if you get it right, and I am hoping Nairobi County government will remain the implementing agency, the oversighting agency. The national government can give you as much money as they want, but please, the roles that the Nairobi people gave you, retain that. The public participation, as has been said by the other members, is very important. I wish you well.
Yes, my name is Daniel Manzo, Senator Makueni, friend of the committee. I just want to say that from the discussions foregoing, Nairobi should have a special budget. It cannot be treated like any other county because this is our capital. But at the same time, then in the method used should be within the law, and the public participation is very key unless we want the courts to disrupt the good intentions. So I think when we are budgeting, we should have a special budget for special things in Nairobi, and that sorts it. And the governor have proper capacity to deal with Nairobi. It doesn't need to be assisted from another quarter. I thank you, Chair.
Finally, I think, Your Excellency, one thing I can show you, this committee will stand with you to see that at least whatever you want to achieve in this city is achieved. This city, each of us has a home here, and we want to see a city that is very clean, that gives us enough water, enough security, and according to Article 189, that it provides an avenue for cooperation. So you have all the right to cooperate, so long as this city is going to benefit. But however, there are a lot of human cries. So I think the only thing is you only make a participation. Like this document, actually, your assembly is missing. They are wrong. It's not well pronounced. It does not come out very well. And these are the people who support you, who will work with you. These are your MPs. I think that should be looked into. Two, and one other thing is I want you to put the NMS bills that was left in part of this agreement, if possible. So at least you can be able to pay these people. There's so many people who have lost, made business with the county, and the money is still missing for the last how many years? I don't know, almost 6, 7 years. That was also be looked into. And finally, I think, as rightly said by my colleague, Nairobi should not be an ordinary county. It requires an extra money. And I think as a Senate, we'll have conversation to see that at least the equitable shares get more than what we get now. And I don't want to call the governor now. It should be called the governor general because you are now governor of everybody. Because if you call everybody governor, the one with with a small county and in Nairobi, I think it should not be called the same names. We just look for another title for you.
Thank you for understanding my comment.
So I think with those few remarks, I wish you the best.
Thank you.
Continue with the cooperation and the agreements, because refine it.
Yeah.
Take away, take the members, whatever the proposals have made. Engage your constituents and your assemblies. With those few remarks, I want to wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, Chair. And thank you all to all the members. The work you're doing is so important for our country in this journey of devolution, which is the highlight of our constitution. And many times it is us who will set precedent on how things are done, because there are many things that have not been done before. Chair, I want to assure this committee and the people of Nairobi, I've been walking around with this idea for years. I have said it to you here more than 2 years ago. I said it in the Senate during our debate. The only way you will sort out this city is through that additional resourcing and also coordination. Remember, the committee is not just for managing projects. It is coordinating national issues and county issues. For Nairobi, you need that. You might not need that in many other counties. But for Nairobi, you need to have that platform. That is why even you remember during the NMS period, the Director General was co-opted into cabinet. For a reason. The capital needs that visibility. The governor needs to have information on what is happening, across the sectors. Chair, let me give you an example, and I'll finish. I won't take more than 10 minutes. Everybody wants water from the county government, and not just Nairobians. Even Kajiado County and Machakos get from Nairobi. Chair, the problem with water is something people don't realize is a long-standing problem. And I've explained to you here before. Nairobi had only 4 sources of water. Kikuyu Springs in Senator Thangwa's county, which is 6,000 cubic meters. Ruiru Dam, again in his county, not even in Nairobi. Then we got to Sasumwa in Nyandarua, 60 million liters a day. And then Dakaine finally, 1994 to 1997. In total, all of that was giving us 525.6 million liters of water against a demand of 970 million liters. Chair, what this agreement does is that it formalizes our engagements with national government, because I've been able to increase that water by 140 million, but I've only been able to do it because for now, myself and the president see it why, and that I was able to sit with him and ask him to. There were people who needed to be compensated at Kigoro, across the way. Sorting out this city should not be a favor. What this city requires, the 50 billion or the 80 billion, is not a favor. This city carries the entire 60% of the GDP of this country. But the people of Nairobi don't benefit, And Chair, now, in this agreement again, because there's still a shortage of around 220 million liters, I have secured Maragua 4 Dam, which is 130 million liters. And in Senator Thangwa's county, there's a place called Ngedu in Gatundu North. In Ngedu, every day we lose 35 to 40 million liters as we filter the water through what we call backwash. I've secured the money to do reverse backwash system that will give me 55 million liters a day. In less than a year and a half, the water deficit can be sorted out. So Chair, Senator Percy Tobiko, my good friend, is very right. I am ready to stake my career on this because I am so sure if we implement this as we should, and I'll make sure it is. I'm chairing that implementation committee. Everyone will just say tutor because it will be so clear things will have changed. There is no other solution. There is no shortcut for Nairobi. There is no, I don't know, professor you'll put there. There is no other way but dealing with the financing issues. And this gives me a platform to follow up, whether it is a rating act, whether it is sectional properties, whether it is security, whether it is, how our officers are collecting the revenue. I can be able to do that. Waste management. There's nothing like national government coming to collect waste in Nairobi. No. Waste management has been a big challenge over the years. And I've had to analyze it, Chair, and come up with a solution. The solution for waste management requires, for instance, the waste to energy requires a tariff for energy. Nairobi doesn't buy power. For me to get that tariff, how much these people will sell that power, I need the national government. The offtake, because now what we're doing is recycling. Nairobi, and I can give you an example. Over the years, in 1977, had 80 trucks. 78, 66, it kept going down. 83, 44 trucks for solid waste management. 98, 13. 2003 is when it came up to 21. When I became governor, I got 24 new RCs, 24 new tippers. It is not enough. But I can only buy that based on the resources I have. I had 4,500 young people. They're now on permanent and pensionable basis who are called the Green Army. You see them. But what happens, Chair, when that Green Army have collected trash, then exchequer is delayed. With the money I have and I have the trucks, do I pay salaries or do I fuel those trucks? I have to pay salaries. We have an end-to-end solution, Chair, that is costing 6 billion. The national government is going to pay 2 billion. The rest of it is the county. So it's the county that is still going to do it. But that, and let me give you an example. That end-to-end, we're getting 32 compacted trucks of 60 cubic meters, 24 roll-off containers, 320 tricycles. The tricycles that now can go into the informal settlements and collect the trash from there. 320, 80 loaders and forklifts and balers, 40 dozers and excavators, then 90 tippers. In addition, the city has never seen this. So at that time, the people will say, wow, it has changed. And my target is to make it the cleanest. But you see all of this, if you look at the sheer amount of this contract, cannot be done by Nairobi alone. I don't have the 6 billion per year to do it. Remember, I've explained to you, everything from equitable share and mshahara too, and the rest goes to the county assembly. Everything else is this parking I'm charging here, land rates, which many people are not paying. Out of 250,000 parcels, only 50,000 people have an account. So we want the Paris lifestyle, but with a Nairobi, the people say you have champagne taste on a beer budget. We must also do our part as the people of Nairobi. So Senator Tobiko, I am willing to take the bull by the horns. This is a very bold agreement. I have not transferred any function. I will never transfer functions, but we will work with the national government so that Singapore becomes real, starting from Nairobi. Senator Karungo, the county assembly must be involved. It is in this. Right now, they're the ones conducting the public participation. They're the ones at Charter Hall. They're the ones leading it tomorrow in all the sub-counties. There's a committee of 23 members, and they're leading all of that. And as we've said, oversight in, I think, section 7.4, the oversight and everything continues as per PFM. Nothing changes from that. All projects, Senator Kamar, I know there's that issue of such others, but 6.3 says all projects and programs shall be subject to public participation in accordance with applicable laws and also must go through the assembly. Yeah, so we'll put all the programs through the assembly. I understand what your fear is. And I know many people reacted the way they did to this document because of the post-traumatic stress disorder of NMS. And you know, when a snake bites you, even when you see a shoelace, you'll jump, you know. And NMS messed up our staff. They were demoralized, they were transferred, they were mistreated, they left pending bills. And so that's why I said the first thing first. We're not mentioning Article 187, which is transfer. We would not go that way. And I would not be, I don't know, Senator Chuto was saying someone has a panga. Not me. No. And you see, the president himself has said in public, he is not interested in running Nairobi. He does not want those powers. They have said they have not given. Now, if the president is saying he doesn't want it, and I'm saying I'm not transferred, who is this other person with another interpretation that there's been a transfer? The receiving entity does not want, the issuing entity has not given. Who then has created a transfer? We don't want, but we just want to make this city the world-class capital. You've seen what we can do with little money. You know, just look outside your square over here. I sorted that out. Go today to Moya Avenue Service Lane. Go look at the walkways that we're doing. And it's because we've gotten 120 million from RMLF. What if it was what Nairobi deserves? The whole city would look like that, you know. Look at today, our school enrollment has gone up 40% because I can afford 1.4 billion to feed 320,000 children to go to school. If I had more resources, I would get even those in the informal settlements. So the limit, there's no governor who is happy seeing a pothole out there, or seeing this lack of water that we're saying, or seeing waste. But until you sort out that waste management, there is no angel who can be able to deliver that. And so I'm willing to stake, everything on the line. Senator Muma, you're correct. That provision, I think we need to look at the issue of JVs and VPPs. When I became governor, I found 8,991 staff houses in Nairobi. Today, we're constructing 73,000. Not affordable housing, county projects. Jericho, the ones where we actually, Woodley had 43 houses that we brought down to do 1975 houses. That is a huge, huge change, And to do that, I also need to connect more water, more sewer in those areas. People say, oh, the planning is haphazard. Kileleshwa and Kilimani houses are going up, but you're not doing the attendant amenities. We're doing that. This program of 1.8 by 1.8 along both sides of the river will include lateral connections to it. From Kilimani, Kileleshwa, Dagoretti, North Kawangware, all these 27 kilometers of the river. And we'll finish by January 15th of next year. So, Chair, so that I don't go on and on, I'm grateful to this committee for this opportunity. I don't think Kenyans have had my explanation before today, a proper explanation. And of course, during this time, there's also a lot of propaganda and politics and different intentions, from people. Somebody once told me that as a leader, I want Chair to hear, and my friend Amran is. Chair, listen. Somebody once told me that I'm giving you my disposition. That as a leader with responsibility, even you as a chair, don't be afraid to be misunderstood and make that not make you act. If you're doing the right thing and your conscience is clear, do it, people will understand. Of course, we'll do it according to the law. But if I'm to have paralysis of analysis and stay trapped in the headlights like an antelope, this city would not move. This city would not change. So as a governor who has that constitutional mandate to do the best to transform this city, I feel that this is a great milestone that we will refine, we will look at, but we have to make it working. In fact, I can't wait for those 14 days what we have the first meeting. So what we align those projects, what we bring here supplementary appropriations, what we get more budget, so what we make Nairobi work. So thank you so much, Chair, for this opportunity, and may God bless you and all the members of the committee.
Thank you so much. What's listening so now we have between yourselves and what we can listen. Now we understand now. Okay. So members, I think keep renewing and there have been no other business. Thank you so much. I think
Thank you, Chair.
This is one. It's good. Faster.